In an awakened company, one of the things we talk about is first there's kind of energizing the vision, bringing it to life. Then there's sustaining it, which is putting all the reinforcement in place. And the third pillar is regeneration. Mm-hmm. And for me, regeneration is something that we need to work on a lot in organizations. So some of the practices we had at Blue Hour were unlimited vacation. People could work whenever they wanted and however they wanted because we trusted them to do the right thing. We also believe people need rest, people need sleep, people need time away. And because the majority of ideas are actually born outside of organizations versus actually inside of organizations. So Vince, what practices would you suggest for businesses that have been in business longer term to be regenerative around vision, around values, around space and time and community? What practices would you suggest? Because it's a pillar that I feel is really lacking.
Well, regenerative is a big word, and it's really a frame of mind as much as anything. So you can talk about regenerative on an individual level. So what are you working too hard? Are you working too long? Are you taking your vacation? Do you have a generous vacation policy? Do you have a sabbatical policy, which we now have? Do we support you in exercise and health or on educational opportunities? So there's a lot of ways that an individual can be regenerative, and the company can play some role in that. It depends upon how well established the company is, but as a company, you mentioned more well-established companies, and they can typically afford more and more in terms of personal regenerative practices. But then there's regeneration in terms of your industry. So I'm a banker. You don't normally say that with pride because people don't appreciate bankers or what they do. So how can I help regenerate the image of bankers, which is not just about image, but actually the practice of banking and the way banks approach finance. And so that's a whole huge effort to sort of reframe finance, to really reframe the economy as being in the service of mankind rather than mankind being in service of an economy. So that's a whole reversal of view, and that is at the heart of, I guess, what I would talk about regenerating our industry, banking. And then, of course, there's regenerating our planet. So what are we doing there? It's not just about conservation or even preservation. It's really about regeneration, and which is yet the next step of conservation is we try to stop from destroying something, or preservation, we stop from destroying something. Conservation is we use something at a less pace, but regeneration is, no, we want to go back to the way the things were some time ago. We want to build up that resource again so that it's better. And so that's going to be a whole set of sort of government policies and personal practices, regardless of what the government says, that leave the place better off than when you found it. It's like the old Boy Scout or Girl Scout camping thing. Leave a campsite better than where you found it. That's regenerative. So how do we do that in our businesses and in the impact on our community and the impact on the planet?
Mm-hmm. And how do we use capital in a regenerative form so that it serves future generations?
Well, that's another big question in terms of how one really ultimately looks at money. I think I've thought a lot about that. I mean, we learn in school that money is a store of value and a medium of exchange, right? And I think one way to get at what you're talking about, if we're going to see money in a more, or capital in a more regenerative way, is to say that money is a store of our values. It represents my values, your values. It's a way that our values are captured by the way we spend it. So there's no idle spending of money. It's all ultimately has a value impact. And and the corollary of that then is that money can be an agent of change, not just a medium of exchange. It can be an agent of change. So we can be purposeful and intentional with our capital, our money, and we can, since it expresses our values, we can use it in a way which expresses our values and which pushes the economy and the community around us towards our values. So I think that's a way that capital can be more regenerative. And that starts on a personal level, and then it grows through the company. But it really starts on a personal level. People don't feel empowered by their money the relationship with money is complex. It has something to do with the way they grew up with it, how they were trained. So there's a whole bunch to unpack there. But ultimately, do you see your money as a store of your values? Do you see yourself in your own small way as an agent of change? And so one of the things we always ask at the bank, or I ask when I meet people, is do you know where your money spends the night? And so the question is your money at home in a mattress? Well, probably not. So if it's not in a mattress, then what have you done with it? Well, you brought it to a bank. Well, guess what? It's not sitting in a vault. Vaults really don't exist much anymore. Most money is electronic, and it's stored around the world, or it's being used around the world. So if you could get on your little dollar bill and it was a magic carpet and it took you around the world, would you be proud to see what your money is doing? Would you be happy to see that, it's involved in strip mining in Appalachia or in third world countries in terms of the supply chain where labor conditions are poor or environments are being desecrated? There are lots of places where money goes and works. That's your money. That's doing that. Would you be proud of that? And do you even think about where your money spends the night? So it's not sleeping at night. You may be sleeping, it's spending the night. And so that goes back to, no, my money represents my values. And so I better be using it in a way which reflects those values.